Hello, and welcome to 100% Real with Ruby. Today, I am actually talking about the best way to lose fat fast. And this is kind of like, what, Ruby? You're actually talking about dropping fat fast now. And yeah, this is the thing. Because if you do the upfront work, you actually set yourself up for an effective diet. So many women want to rush to results, but they've never actually prepared themselves to diet. It's like rushing to the end result, but not rushing to actually do the work that will ensure that you not only get the end result, but keep it. Because dieting is freaking hard. Yet it's the thing that everyone keeps doing over and over again because to most people, maintenance and thriving and building muscle, building a physique is the hard thing. And it's so easy to think that losing weight is the thing you need to do to see the muscle that is quote unquote there, but it's not actually there. But what I'm going to talk about here is what is an effective deficit? How do you know what your effective deficit is? What are the pros and cons of particular approaches? And what is the best way to set yourself up so you stop living your life dieting, trying to lose weight, but never actually feeling happy with the end results? Because let's face it, so many women are frustrated because, well, there are people that just eat clean and then there's tracking the food, cutting calories down to crazy amounts, and then it stops working, and then trying to cut them again or get stricter and just keep trying over and over again. And I've even spoken to women who, because they can't see results and then they feel exhausted, they're like, well, seeing as I can't keep it, I'm just gonna play it safe and like do a smaller deficit or take that like little cheat days on the weekend. It's like, why are you doing this to yourself and still trying to lose weight in a tiny deficit with quote unquote cheat days when you could actually do the process effectively and start eating way more calories, like 2,200 calories, which a lot of you people are like, well, if I eat that much, I gain weight. It's like, well, actually, if you learn how to do the process, no, most women can and will be able to eat that amount as maintenance calories because it is like you're stuck between feeling like you're doing everything, I guess, right, because you're peddling low calories. Even if you think like, this goes off the last podcast, if you think 1,500 calories is your maintenance, the biggest issue in all of this is that because we want to lose weight, we don't want to test ourselves on higher calories. And because we're living on such low calories and not understanding that we need to like actually build habits, build momentum, you can't build habits and build momentum in a period of time that is not meant to be and not designed to be sustainable. But fat loss phases are not meant to be sustainable, yet so many of us are trying to build these healthy fitness, all these kind of habits and identity and become the person that lives this lean life in a deficit. And deficits are not sustainable. So it's going to be very hard to walk on shaky, volatile ground, trying to stack habits when a lot of us say, oh, my plans never happen. My plans always fall through. Well, it ended up being too busy this week, et cetera, et cetera. It's like you're acting as though those are the minority, as though you hardly ever get chaotic weeks, when in reality, having calm is the rarity. Like, this is the default. Life is crazy. Life is busy. So it makes sense to give yourself an environment that allows you to thrive, to build these habits, and to get you into a place to properly respond to a deficit. And it's not going to do that when it's stressed, underfed, confused. It doesn't, like, you haven't even got any habits, anything to facilitate what you need to do in a deficit to get to the end result that you want. Because so many people don't do what they need to do for long enough, or they don't understand how to track food accurately, regardless of whether it's on an app or not. I would say that you would probably save yourself so much stress and time if you learned how to make it less obsessive, because it really doesn't have to be obsessive. I have a client who's in fat loss right now who doesn't even open her app except on the weekends because she plans all her food ahead for the week. And then she knows what calories are there if she wants to change up her dessert. And yes, she's still eating a real dessert. That's the thing, because diet fatigue is real. And when your mind, regardless of whether you're seeing physical results or not, if you've been trying to think of losing weight, et cetera, your whole life, you're fatigued. So instead of the hardest part of all of this, I really should just start at the top and go through sections. But the reason this is so important is because if you do this the wrong way, you end up always trying to be better, do better, lose a little bit more, get frustrated, then be like, I'm not there yet, so I don't want to eat more food. So you never actually get yourself to a place for any fat loss to work. And if you're listening to this and fat loss is something that's on your mind and you've failed in the past, or you've struggled, or you've only got a little bit of the way and then nothing, then this is why. Because the problem isn't the deficit itself, it's the lack of planning, it's the lack of pre-diet phasing. And that's why so many women, it's not even trying to restart every Monday, it's trying to figure out the next best thing. What am I doing wrong? What am I missing? What's this? What's that? No, let's just pull it all the way back where we want to put the calories as well. So first, I want to talk about why this is so important, because fat loss does not start the moment that you start dieting. Fat loss starts the moment that you start getting habits in check and creating the environment that will facilitate this. Because if you're already trying to get by on 1,500 calories, which is not your maintenance, your sleep isn't there, your lifestyle is sedentary, your training isn't really there either, you're not going to hold on to muscle. You're not going to be, because there are things you need to do to be able to get your training to be effective, like movement patterns, learning how to actually push yourself a little bit. The more that you can actually build that training capacity, the more likely you are to bias fat burning, and the more likely you are to have a greater success dieting. And like I mentioned in a prior podcast, I think so many women, and I would say people in general, even coaches, they don't understand what starting people off in maintenance is. So sometimes they overfeed their clients, which is why so many women are also scared of maintenance, because what they know is that some coaches, some trainers have overfed them and then they ended up gaining weight. No, maintenance, when you have a lot of fat to lose, the maintenance lifestyle isn't one for where you are now. It's one for the lifestyle that you want to live. So we're not thinking about diets. We're thinking about creating the lifestyle that you want to live within those maintenance calories of that type of person. So for example, I started with this client off who came to me on like 1,400, 1,500 calories. I put her up to 18, and that would be her maintenance lifestyle. If she didn't have the excess body fat that she has, I would probably put her right up to 2,400, but she has excess body fat. So I am not putting her all the way up there, because I am calculating for closer to her lean body mass. And we did that for 9 months, 10 months-ish. And then we went into a fat loss phase, and then we dropped it down the proper diet deficit amount that it should be, that most people are not doing accurately or consistently, which is why so many people spin their wheels. And she's already leaned out massively in just 4 weeks of dieting. There was 3 weeks, and then the diet break, and then this is the 4th week properly going into the 5th week. You can already tell how much she's lost, and she's lost massive amounts from her neck as well in the period of time that we've been working together. And this is the thing, because your body is always going to go into survival mode if you haven't taught it or learned how to become aware of how to fight that, because your metabolisms don't really adapt. And I've mentioned this before, I've changed my mind on the fact that if you go too hard in a diet, you're going to have to just keep dropping calories until there's nothing left, because no, 1,200 calories, if you diet on 1,200 calories, is still going to be a deficit regardless, as long as you keep all the other things in check, like your movement, like everything else. But if you're already eating 1,500, 1,600 calories, and then you want to diet on 1,300 calories, that's like a 200 calorie deficit, maybe 300. And chances are you're not going to be sticking to that very, very well, because trying to live on 1,500 and 1,600, considering you're tracking everything to the absolute T 7 days a week, and you're living in an environment where you want to be social, where you want to have date nights, where there's glorious food, and they don't make restaurant meals and menus for tiny people with tiny metabolisms. So those meals are enough to knock you out of a deficit and put you into a surplus, not even maintenance, if you're in this low calorie range. So why, the only argument for a smaller deficit would be if you're a small woman on tiny calories, because what you're going to do, go down to 800 calories. But then I would argue, are you even in a place to diet? Because you're not going to be losing much whatsoever, and you're going to be on low calories your whole life, because there's nothing really going to be lost there, because it is fatiguing as fuck. You need to get yourself into a place to make the diets effective. You need to build up and realize that what you do in a diet phase is not meant to be sustainable, and trying to make diets sustainable and live your best life during fat loss will always backfire. If you try to keep all of your usual treats and all of your usual food, it's not going to work. I don't believe in that you should eat the same thing, because no, you're going to be hungry if that means you're going to have tiny portions of everything. And if everything is like a party in your mouth, you're going to keep craving things and wanting to eat more, because you know when you have one, it's never really one sometimes, especially when you're freaking hungry on tiny calories. You'll feel restricted and extremely hungry. You'll see minimal progress. It'll take 2 to 3 times as long to even finish the phase, if you finish the phase. It's trying to have the best of both worlds, quick progress and a lot of flexibility, but it backfires and you get no welds. And the reason why even trying to get by on small deficits for like your whole life, because you're pedaling between not really eating much and then trying to diet, you're not actually in a place at all to be building muscle, because anabolism, as in building muscle, the ability to build muscle and the ability to recover on lower calories, is not there. Your body isn't in a place where it's going to favor either fat burning or building muscle. So you're in limbo. Like, that place sucks. And that's probably like, you can get stronger without building muscle. And that's the trap. That's like the biggest trap, because strength is, you can get strong to a particular point without really building all that much muscle. That's why I say strong is lean. Yes, muscle will always lead to strength. If you're not getting stronger, then you're not building muscle either. But you can still get stronger without building muscle. And that's why I say you can progress without building muscle. And if your program changes every 4, 6, 8 weeks, completely changes, you can be getting stronger all the time without building muscle, because you don't have a program that actually progresses you the right way. Because eating, this is it. You're prolonging. And this is why reverse diets suck, because you're still in a deficit. You're not going to be building anything. You'll be getting stronger, yes. Your performance will improve, yes, because you're on more food gradually, but you're still not in a sufficient place to be building muscle tissue. And this is the thing, like, we want to rush to results. We're impatient as fuck. But fat loss is only going to become more of like the battlefield. Battlefield, I say, because it's like you're battling your own mind, but your body is also battling itself because it wants recovery. And then your brain wants recovery because of diet fatigue. But if you actually understand how to create this maintenance lifestyle, it becomes so much easier to pull yourself out of a deeper deficit when you need to have a diet break and then go back into it. Because long-term dieting, when you have a lot of fat to lose, especially because this is going to be a long journey, if you're not going to take maintenance periods, it's going to burn you the fuck out. And if you're not seeing results for the effort that you're putting in because you can't stick to the diet, or the deficit's too small, that's going to be really hard for you to stick to it as well. Just the same way that people find it so freaking hard to do anything but dieting, because it's so slow and so hard outside of a diet to build muscle. That part sucks. And this whole conversation got sparked because someone posted into a group that she built her maintenance up to like 2,800 calories. And she dropped them down to 2,200 and she thinks she can go deeper. It's like, well, you did the work, you built yourself up today. Yeah, okay, muscle loss doesn't become an issue for the first couple of weeks of dieting because you still have a lot of excess like energy on your body. As long as you're training hard and your strength is still going up, you're not going to be losing any muscle, as long as your protein is also there. And then it's just about making sure that your performance is still there. If your sleep isn't there, if your performance isn't there, and if you're not eating enough protein and getting in adequate nutrients, that is when you do need to worry about muscle loss, because you're going to lose muscle anyway. It's just not all that much. Like, you want to minimize muscle loss. That's the goal. The more that you can keep your strength and performance there, the less muscle you lose. And that's the goal, because you can gain that muscle back much faster after a diet phase. Muscle memory as a starting point, and then the glycogen goes back in. You really don't lose all that much unless you're doing something ridiculous. And it's been in the literature most of the time when people actually lose great amounts of muscle doing big diets. Those studies have not been people miss half of it. Their training was not really kept the same. And there wasn't really anything to show for what was their recovery like, what was their lifestyle like, what were they doing with it. So it is very hard as well, especially as a small woman, especially if you're dieting on like the tiniest little calorie deficit. You can easily have like an apple and a banana and be out of your deficit. Or you could forget that you ate your kids' crusts on the bread and be out of a deficit. You end up getting hungry enough to be annoyed, but you're not seeing any progress to be motivated. And that's how you end up in the burnout, binge, restrict cycle. If you lick your peanut butter spoon, like it just sucks. You have zero room for error if you're doing a short diet. I mean, a small deficit. You don't want to go too aggressive. I'm against completely aggressive dieting, like 1,000 calorie diets. That's silly. But around the 500 calorie deficit mark is a great place to be. It's not extreme, it's effective. And it allows you to get in and get out without another half-hearted attempt, without another half-assed attempt, without another giving it a little bit because it never really works and I can't see the results from it. You don't earn any of these fat loss results in dieting. You earn it all before the diet because you're setting yourself up right. You need to prime your body for the deficit, because fat loss is a phase. It is not a full-time job. It becomes a full-time job when you try to tiptoe your way through it and you don't set yourself up for success. And if you keep thinking that 1500 calories is your maintenance, you're just going to end up completely exhausted all the time, up and down. And it's just not where you want to be. You want a responsive body. And it's really hard for many women also to leave this cycle if this has been their identity. It's all they know. They've been this dieter. And you can't see it any other way. You can't see living your life in this place where it's not even a thought anymore. And that's why it is so important. Like the most important part of fat loss isn't actually the calories. It's not any of this stuff. It's ensuring that you feel good and creating something in your life that you actually start looking forward to once you're thriving, eating more, building more, having something exciting in the gym. And that's why I focus on performance first, because then you start to get excited about building. And the fat loss happens, like body recomposition can easily happen from you just chasing muscle and being in a maintenance phase for long enough in that direction. But you're not going to be seeing the fat loss either. And we're not aiming to build muscle and lose fat at the same time. We're not in a deficit. We're in maintenance. We're aiming to build as much muscle as possible. And that in turn, over time, will see your body shape up and it'll look like you're losing fat. And you probably will be losing fat because now the more muscle you build, that maintenance period, that maintenance phase, you're going, like, we're burning fat and we're losing fat and storing fat throughout the whole day. We're always losing and storing fat depending. It's the net sum that leads to a surplus or a deficit. So at particular times, when we're in maintenance, we can be really favoring that muscle building and burning a little bit of body fat with that. It's just that over time, we're not in a deficit because our body weight will probably around about be the same or go up a little, depending on where we start in terms of training, because you can gain quite a lot of muscle in your first year of training, year and a half of training. None of this is worth you micromanaging every single little gram because you're doing tiny little deficits and trying to play safe and trying to make it this thing that's sustainable. Larger deficits get you in and out. You get to commit. You have something that's time bound, and you're not constantly haunted by the fact that this is such a long journey. And it's like you will feel like you keep failing and you've failed in the past. So what's the point? But no, it's never been failing at dieting. It's been failing at setting it up and being patient in that process. That's where we need to look. And we need to look at things to focus on outside of dieting, because even my clients that are in diets do not focus on fat loss. We don't think about dieting. We think about everything else. We let the calories and everything else do the job. The only difference is I want them to send me their meal plans, not meal plans, their template for their meals for the week, so that we know what's set ahead. Because when you plan, food is less on your mind and it's predictable, and your body loves predictable things. So I hope this helps. Instead of thinking that I need to lose this fat now, instead of thinking I'm someone that I already need to lose weight. Like I don't have time for this stuff. Whatever it is, how long have you been trying to like peddle this fat loss thing? Because it is not worth your sanity. It really isn't meant to be your life. Like, you deserve to live your life. It shouldn't be revolved around when you're on a diet or off a diet. It should be not having to think about dieting again because you did it the right way. So I hope this lands. I want to show you how we structure this phase for my clients eventually as well. But if this is something that interests you, if this resonates with you, if you're someone who's confused about this all, shoot me a message on Instagram, transformxruby, and send this to someone who really needs to hear this. Send this to someone who's confused. Just please send this to someone who this is a message that I need to get out there, because I'm so sick of women living such like low calorie, low vibe, low energy lives, almost like you're living life with a handbrake on. You deserve to live a full life. You deserve to chase strength, to feel good, to not have to have your whole life revolve around this stuff. Please send this to someone. I want people to stop struggling with this stuff. And it all starts before the diet. It all starts with you understanding that you don't have to live your life in deprivation. And once you get to the other side, you're not going to be caught up with people telling you it's your cortisol, it's this, it's that. Because fat loss isn't meant to be something that you keep trying harder at forever. It's meant to work so you can move on. And that only happens when you have clarity, strategy, and a body that's actually ready, a body that can respond. Let's start doing this the right way, the smart way, the strong way, the Ruby way. But yeah, DM me. You can DM me phase if you want to have a word to DM me. And if you want any help with any of this and you want to stop getting confused in all the noise and you just want to get it over and done with, shoot me a message and I'll see how I can help you. And we can go from there. And if this helped you in any way, please, 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 I'm begging you, please, it only takes you a second, like literally while you're listening to this, just like go onto my name and like give me a 5-star rating, please. Love you all. Bye.